So I'm going to do one more tutorial today, and it's going to be about vertex animation. So we talked about vertex painting today. There's actually some other stuff you could do with vertices. This allows you to animate stuff. So if you've played a game and the grass moved around you, or trees swayed, or bushes swayed in the wind, or some crazy effect happened to something, the shader was actually moving around the positions of the vertices. So when we go into our just like a basic shader here, that just like a start one, you'll notice here on the top there's a whole section called vertex, and there's a position, normal, and tangents, and it's all set to object space. And basically what this is the position of every single vertex, the normal of every vertex, and the tangent of every vertex is being fed into that shader so it knows where it is in the world space. We can play around with these things and affect them as well. So the first one I'll do is I'll show you. It's just sorry, not transform, position. So there's a position node, and you can kind of select what the kind of different nodes are. So by default, our position for our vertex is object space. It's dictated by where the object is. We could change that to world, and I'll show you what this does to our stuff. So it actually moved my meshes around. And now you'll see these meshes don't actually move where my cursor is. They're going for a wild ride. They're kind of positioned in the world space a little bit differently as opposed to where the actual object is. You see that's the collision of my object, but the actual vertices are going for a wild adventure. So you could have some fun with that. Like you'd set this to view. I don't even know what the hell's going to happen with this. They might be on my camera. Oh. They don't really, oh, there they are. They're like aligned kind of to my view, but not really. I'm not moving this thing. It's just traveling around. Yeah, it's trying its best to kind of align with the view, as I suppose, based on where its pivot is. So you can get some pretty wild stuff in there, but let's do something a bit more practical here. So what we're gonna do is, well, actually I'll need that node. I'm gonna switch this back to object. And we're going to, let's see, we got position here. We're going to just kind of apply a really basic noise to our texture. So we have our position node, and we're going to add a noise to it. Now Unity generates its own noise, which is kind of nice. So we're going to take that, and we're going to do a Veroni noise. Okay, we're going to put in our UVs as our object space, and then we're going to multiply these things. Our normal vector as well, just to kind of unify the mesh again. So normal, do our object normal as well, and we'll pop that into our position here. And now you'll see our sphere is going wild, right? All the vertices of this sphere are now going in kind of random directions. I don't know where the hell my plane went. My plane doesn't really have a lot of vertices to it, so I think it's getting a little too exaggerated here. But we can kind of change our density here and our strength as well. So this is like the size of things, our kind of angle offset, and we're just straight up multiplying it in here too. We can also, we can lerp this between two colors and make it so it's not so dark. Bit. Plane is still gone somewhere. Fairly well plane. Where are you? Okay, you're right here. I don't really know why it's offsetting it so hard on this one, but it's just making it go crazy. So, so that's like a super basic way of just like affecting how this stuff kind of happens. That you can move vertices around, and then any sort of math you want to apply to this, we can do that again. So let's let's take this here. We're going to add our position again. Okay, filled it out a bit. And then what we can do is we can make these things variables as well. So noise. This is my with it a little bit. There we go. I added the position back into this shader on top of everything, just added it on top just to try and fix this paper because it was going nuts. So here we go. We have just our one value of our noise here and how that's kind of affecting things. You see here it affects different objects very differently. That's kind of a tough thing about vertex mapping. This sphere is scaled by 7, while this paper is only scaled, or this plane is only scaled really by 1 on one axis. So the scale actually affects this quite a bit. And you'll see here it's how it's kind of affecting that right there. So the next step we can do is we could add some animation to this. So we have our cell density. We could animate this if we wanted to. We could animate this part here, the offset. So let's do the offset for now. Let's just see what we can do here. So we're going to multiply offset. So let's do noise offset. With a time. Just the game time. By default, it might not be doing anything. To see this live as well, when you're working on shaders, you have to go and turn on this little thing here called always refresh. Otherwise, it won't actually show up there. So, noise offset. Make it faster, slower. So now here we see that just by multiplying our noise offset with a time, we are animating these vertices. So obviously this is ugly and stupid, but it works, right? So we're basically saying run this noise through this mesh and then change the vertices based on those black and white values of that noise. So you can have a lot of fun with this stuff. You can do things again like wind, just make things kind of wobble. You know, whatever happens to be. The further you go down this rabbit hole, you can start putting like player position into your shader and have this wobble happen like around the player basically. In the previous class with my Niagara class, somebody asked about snow. And the way snow works in games is it's a vertex offset like this, but instead of running a noise through it, we're running a texture. So just whatever, you know, anything that's black gets pushed down further, anything that's white stays on top. And that texture is painted by the player. So we actually use a vertex paint, but the brush is the player as opposed to an editor brush. And then at runtime, we're painting a texture with our character as the brush and applying that texture to the snow. And really, in the end, it's all just, it's math. It's just, you know, is it up or down, ones or zeros? And anything that happens within a shader is just breaks down to that. What is the position of these things? What is their color? Where are they in the world space? Where are they relative to the object? And then we can apply any sort of math or logic on top of that to have some fun. So obviously this is a shitty example, but hopefully it's a good kind of intro to what you can do. You can throw in lots of different stuff in here. You know, you can throw in like a sine wave. Right, so the sine wave will go one way and then go backwards, right? So you can then just start throwing, again, simple math kind of logic in there and start adding, multiplying stuff on top of that. So you see here it kind of goes one way and goes the other way. And again, all this stuff is also editable through code at runtime. So, you know, the noise offset, all that kind of stuff. This is just noise, but anything you have in here, you can multiply, you can add, and any of that stuff can be affected at runtime. So let's say you had something in your game that you shot wind out of your hand. One of the games was doing like an elemental thing. Maybe every time the player shoots wind, you crank up the wind in the shaders, so all the trees in the area like, you know, flutter around and stuff like that. It's not something I'm really expecting from your games and, you know, in a semester's worth of work, but if you're interested when you're going forward to kind of push this stuff, this will make your environments feel alive and interesting, and you can get a lot of really cool work done without a lot of, you know, really like difficult work on there. Once you get a shader going, you can do lots of variations and have a lot of fun with it. So anyways, quick little introduction to Vertex animation. And if you have any like specific requests for it, just let me know.